Hey everyone, good to see you on the huddle. I've got a special guest on this morning. This is NaToya Champion, and NaToya is one of our awesome store managers. She is working and living in Memphis, Tennessee, and she posted something on Facebook yesterday that got our attention that we were really proud of. So we asked her to come on this morning and tell you about it. So NaToya, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So the reason we're together today is your Facebook post. We noticed yesterday. First, let me thank you and all your peers. The store manager teams around the country, store management teams around the country have had so much going on this year, from just trying to run a business every day. I remember running stores in the 90s. I ran a couple, and it's a hard job. I mean, you're on basically 24/7. You got to be ready for anything, but it's a hard job, big teams, lots of moving pieces, a lot of people on your team. Then this year we've had added on to us a pandemic, and that has changed the way we operate. Everything from hours, new people that have joined. We've hired over 250,000 people. I'm sure you've hired quite a few at your store. Our
Yes.
procedures are different. We're working in a mask. We've got all these things we didn't have before, managing that. And then last week, then the country is faced with the death of George Floyd, which has just been tragic and heartbreaking to see it all unfold. And then we've had unrest the last few days, and people are hurt, they're frustrated, and it makes sense. And so I want to talk to you about a couple things. I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about your post because the company has basic beliefs like respecting individuals, striving to be excellent, serving others, and then acting with integrity. And start with respect for the individual. That means that we don't tolerate things like racism. We don't tolerate discrimination. And what we saw happen to Mr. Floyd was a terrible thing. And your post was was great. So I'd love for you to talk about not only the post but what's going on in the store, and what are the associates feeling like, and what's your role in helping everyone get through this.
Yeah. It's definitely been an extremely busy year, um, as you mentioned, with the pandemic, and then now we have this situation that took place in Minneapolis, and it was heart drenching. It was heart drenching. I think even um, after I watched the video, I'd almost wish that I didn't see the video because it was tough. It was tough to watch. Um, the population where I am is, I mean, it's basically African American, especially in my store, um, and I have a lot of young African American males that work in my store. And what brought me to the post that you were speaking of, I thought about those associates. I thought about, you know, outside of being a black man, who they were. Um, I think I know a little bit something about everybody in my store. I have pastors that work here. I have musicians. I have college students. I have an associate that's a barber. Um, Outside of being black, they are other things. And I can remember one day, after the day after I watched the video, and I pulled up into the parking lot, and like things have changed. Most of us are parking in a central location, going through our health screenings and everything. And I sat there for a moment. I sat there because it was still heavily on my mind, and I watched those associates walk through those doors, and all that was on my mind was, how were they feeling? How were they doing? Um, I wondered if they'd seen the video, if, and how did that make them feel? And I was going to have to work with them because I know, just from me watching, everybody took the situation a different way, and it affected people differently. And I was concerned about what they felt like after such a tragedy happened. And um, that's where the post came from. And I'm a picture taker. I probably have 15,000 photos in my phone, and I just like to capture moments. And um, I have pictures just about probably of everybody here that works with me. And I got a few extra pictures that particular day, just talking to those associates. Um, as I thought about, how they felt Some of them may not have been comfortable enough to come to me and talk to me about it. So I made it happen. I initiated the conversation. Just kind of walked up to them, asked them how they were doing, because I knew that's what it was going to take to be able to get anything from them. I could look at some of them and I could see the heaviness on them. And as I initiated the conversation and opened it up where they could speak to me, I saw some of them, they would, like, the wells of their eyes filled with tears. And it was, it broke my heart. It broke my heart. And I stayed composed so that I could, be able to get through the day. But I wanted them to know that they could be comfortable enough to come and speak with me or talk to me or, whatever they needed to do to release, because I know that there was pain there. And as I talked about in that post, what I want to be able to do is take that pain that I know that they have, and kind of help them get through it and kind of suppress it. We don't want them to take it, and if they bottle it in and not talk about it, they could get upset. And I want to suppress that, and I want to be able to help them, and we work through it together, because we were all feeling a certain type of way about that. I myself personally, and I've been in situations where, race has played a factor in me having a certain job or a certain position, or even my children's schools, stereotyping. I'm presented lunch forms and things of such like that, and I didn't need them. Someone else may have, but that's the reality. People look at us, African Americans, and there's a thought. There's a thought. It's not always the right thought, but there's a thought.
NaToya, you are a fantastic servant leader, and we talk about that a lot. We lead by serving not just customers, but the people that work on the team, because as well as anybody, you couldn't run a business like you do without great people who are working really hard every day, giving all they got to serve. And I really appreciate you taking the time to go out and ask people one at a time how they're feeling, how they're doing, because it helps people to share and talk and offload it a bit, but tell you how their emotions are. Positivity is something I think I sense from you. We haven't met before today, but I can see it in your smile. I can hear it in your words, and we certainly saw it on the post. And back behind you, there's a yellow vest back there. What do you do with that?
Yeah, so that's my yellow jacket. Sometimes on Fridays, yellow promotes optimism, and we will some days have days that we dress. Today is Hero Day, and we're wearing superhero shirts. And with mine, it's Wonder Woman, and there's a little bit of a yellow streak there. And so I have my jacket for that when we all go around on the floor, and I tell them how much I appreciate those heroes. But that jacket, that's what that means to me. You'll see several things that I post, places that I go. I wear that yellow jacket because it brings out happiness. The associates that I work with here, I'm telling you, probably if any of my other stores heard it, they'll probably call me and get me. But these are some of the most amazing associates that I have worked with over this past year, and we've had some challenges in this building together, and we've had some wins in this building together. And all of it comes through, it comes through leadership, and it comes through relationship. And one of the first things that I did, even coming to this store, it was all about relationship. I think you take a listing of associates. I think you walk the floor, and I think you go and meet them, and I think you learn something about them. I think you learn what sports their children are in. I think you learn what they do outside of Walmart. I think and understand if they have other jobs and other obligations. And that was the first thing that I did when I got here, was start to build the relationships with those associates. In fact, my first week, I didn't even focus on any of the opportunities that lie within the store. I needed to get to know the associates so that I can understand what they were capable of, and what they were able to do, and then to start to get the store on the right track. And that helped, because now I have a group of some 300 associates that believe in themselves.
Yeah, that's right. And people have to believe in themselves to believe in something that's even
Right.
bigger. This year, with the challenges from just basic operation to the pandemic, and then this last week, how are you finding it's bringing people together? What I find in these situations is when you work through challenging times with others, and typically relationships become stronger, and we have this ability to put ourselves aside a bit and focus on others who need us. And you started with the customers early this year, but what's been the effect on the team over the last 3 or 4 months?
So let me tell you, this is something I'm really proud to talk about and share about this team that I have. They've shown up and wanted to be here for this community. I mean, I don't know. You happen to tell a manager, hey, take a day off. Don't come on your off day. Pretty amazing to me, because they like I said, they've been in the trenches with me. The associates here, even them, they've had some challenges with COVID. And, one of the things that I've even expressed to the management team with COVID-19, it didn't just affect people from a medical standpoint. It affected people even with their livelihood. The schools were closed. They had to find alternate childcare. And then even with that, some of the daycare centers were closed. And so we found ourselves really having to be that empathetic leader and sit down and just have the conversations. Hey, I know that the position that you're in, it asks for 7 to 4, and you can't make it at that time, but you have someone that can watch your child if you work overnight. So if that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do.
Just being dynamic and moving things around the way you need to. Everybody's got a role to play, and these life pressures just come out of come from every direction when the world feels like it gets turned upside down. Do want to talk about just some of the people and the comments you made in the post. It's not everyone that's listening may have seen it. Do you mind telling a couple stories about the people and what inspired you to pull out of those 15,000 photos a select few? And I also like the idea of telling stories through photos and using stories as a way to communicate a message. But it was really great the way you did it.
Yes, absolutely. So what's ironic is quite a few of those associates that are in those photos, with the situation that happened in Minneapolis last week. Some of our stores have been sort of put on alert, and we've had to close. Our store is one of the ones we're having to close at 5 p.m. Talk to some of these associates, and right here, right now in this building, and after this call, and I'll be able to get out there with them. But I have people from all 3 shifts here right now, because I've explained to them what was a 24-hour operation. We're having to do it in about 10 hours. So they are here unloading trucks, stocking freight, serving customers, cleaning, just to continue to be there for the community, in the midst of everything that's going on. And I think that it's because, what this Walmart environment provides for us is family. It's family outside of these 4 walls. We have our own families, but when we come here, we're all we know. And all it was a couple of phone calls to tell them, hey, by the way, we're not going to run an overnight shift tonight, but we could use you because, this is what we need to get done. And they're here. They showed up and they're here.
It just sounds like there's such a sense of purpose in the community, and the purpose is serving others who need to be served. And I'm sure the store, like all the individuals in the store, play such a big role in your community, that what you're doing is really important. Look, I just can't say how much I appreciate the impact that you're making, your leadership, your listening, the experience you have with the company, and the list goes on and on, from the Vicksburg store to where you are now and every stop in between. But I just want to make sure that you know how much I appreciate you. And as we close, is there any advice you'd give your peers, other store managers all around the country? This pandemic, it's affecting the entire country and the entire world. The events last week with what happened to Mr. Floyd in Minneapolis have then affected so many communities. Is there any advice you'd give other store managers as they're thinking about and learning how to navigate through, such uncertain times?
The first and foremost is, and I've talked about this already, is the empathy. Be empathetic. Be empathetic. Initiate conversations. Sometimes they won't come to you, and especially if you're a store manager, a store leader, and you don't look like me. Go to those associates, see how they're doing, see how they're feeling, see how they're coping with everything, because they may just need an outlet to talk. And you may want to just listen. Don't talk as much, just listen, and listen to some of the things that they're saying. And then remember that resilience. Even you as a store manager, a store leader, you get tired. When it's time to refresh. Trust your team to be able to do those things in the store that need to be done. Let them call out on you if they need to be, but you have to be able to pull yourself together mentally, so that we can continue to lead well, because our leadership counts so much now more than ever, because we're being watched, they're depending on us, they're leaning on us. I can't count the number of conversations that I've had. And it's so different right now. It's so different right now because before COVID, and if this had happened, we could be giving hugs. We can't right now because everything that's going on. And so that's why that listening ear is going to be so important. So empathize with the associates and just remember what's happening right now. Everyone doesn't have the same outlook on it. Everyone doesn't have the same view on it, but you owe it to your associates to let them tell you how they feel, and then just continue to keep a positive environment. Keep your eyes open. I had one of my managers that, I study these associates. I study these people every day, and he came into work and he didn't look the same. I didn't see that vibe. I didn't get that vibe off of him that I normally do. And I asked the question, "Are you okay? How are you?" He said he was fine. And I said, "Well, I got to go outside. I got to go around the back of the building. I just want to walk. Let's go and walk." And we got outside. He was able to talk. And it was the situation in Minneapolis. On his way to work, he talked to his dad, and some emotions came up about it. And later, he came and he said, "Thank you. Thank you for talking to me. I really appreciate that." And that's what we need. We need to talk without opinion, and listen.
You're spot on. Be empathetic and listen more than ever, because so many things that we normally would have done, we just can't do right now. But I'd also like the idea, which you said, of initiate the conversation, ask the question. And sometimes you have to ask the question a couple times and sometimes 3 times. I was talking to one of our leaders yesterday who said he had asked somebody how they were, and they talked about the numbers at the store. And he said, "No, I mean, how are you?" And then they talked about their career development. And he said, "I'm really asking, how are you?" And on the 3rd time, then he got the answer, which is, not very good right now. And that's okay. And you just need to listen and give people a way that they can express themselves. And then there's one last point you made, I think, that's really important. If you're leading a team, you got to rest, you got to reset, you got to recharge, you got to take a couple days and take care of yourself. There's a saying I always heard when I was on an airplane: you got to put your own mask on and then take care of the person beside you. Don't forget to put your own mask on, especially right now, because people are tired and they got to refresh. And I put it on my calendar too, and I take some days off, and it goes a long way.
I think we're doing all of the right things. I think the way you all have continuously communicated with us through all of it, through the pandemic, through the communication, it's been excellent. And I think, the stand that the company is making, I don't know that we would have seen this several years ago, but I was looking yesterday, and they did Blackout Tuesday. Everybody did Blackout Tuesday. I was like, wow, what an overwhelming response. I was so excited. And it just shows that you're aware of what's happening. You care about what's happening, and you want to do the right things.
You're awesome, great role model for me and for so many, and thank you so much for sharing not only what you did yesterday, but sharing today. I know there are a lot of people that will be interested in hearing what you got to say, and it'll really help. Let us know how we can support you. Thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.